All right, guys. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast. We are getting close to the Auburn and Texas A&M game. It's going to be taking place down in College Station, the first SEC contest for both teams, the first divisional contest for both teams. High implications, a lot of moving parts to this particular game. Go ahead and like this video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle. Must-win game, I think, for both teams involved. I think if Texas A&M loses this game, it's just going to be hard to win out. Same for Auburn. Going to be hard to win out. I think this is one of those games, kind of like the Oregon game for Auburn, kind of like what, not necessarily the Clemson game, because no one really expected Texas A&M to beat Clemson. But this particular game here is one that is a must-win game for both teams, considering all that they have ahead. You're talking about Texas A&M with LSU, Alabama, Georgia, actually. Same with Auburn. LSU, Alabama, Georgia. So it just doesn't get any easier for either team. So a win here will go a long way into really dictating somewhat how the season may go. Or at least it gives you a win over a team that you probably should have beat. Because I'm thinking about Auburn, for example. And looking at the history of Gus Malzahn, these are the, I like to call them, for lack of a better way of putting it, unnecessary losses. Because when you look at how Auburn somewhat out-recruits Texas A&M, at least historically, has the most experience. This is just a game that Auburn probably shouldn't lose. But what we're going to get into is my favorite part of the week, is when we talk about what both teams need to do, or what both team needs to accomplish, execute to be successful. First, we're going to talk about the Texas A&M Aggies. All week, media outlets have been telling us about how hostile of an environment the 12th man is. Now, I just am not buying it, for one, because you're talking about a team who has averaged about 8 wins per year, 5 losses per year, kind of similar to Auburn, 7-6 one year, I think 2017. I don't see a team that just has really gotten it done at home. And if they have gotten it done at home, it definitely hasn't been against top 25 teams. Auburn has actually won the last 2 times they've been there. So the home field advantage is not a selling point to me for Texas A&M. At this point, just bird's eye view, I don't know the exact stat, but it's time for A&M to get a quality ranked win at home. Because you can go Google it, but I mean, you should be able to be able to kind of know offhand when the last time was A&M has beaten a significant opponent at home, and an 8-5, 7-6, 8-4, 9-4 record doesn't show that you're getting it done on a high level at home. So that's that's not necessarily a key, because that's more so a result, but that's something that needs to happen for Texas A&M. Texas A&M, a top 10 team, winning at home, that's the start of the Jimbo Fisher era. This will be a signature win at home for Jimbo Fisher. Now let's go to what Texas A&M needs to do to be successful. Number one, Auburn has a true freshman quarterback coming down to College Station. Texas A&M's defense needs to be as good as advertised. I'm talking about the defense needs to put pressure on Bo Nix. The defense needs to create turnovers like they have done. That's kind of their MO. They do a really good job of creating turnovers. And they need to really disrupt the rhythm of the run-pass option. Now, Clemson had a little bit of success attacking the edge. Texas A&M can't allow that to happen. Because if Auburn starts to have some success on the edge, then Texas A&M is going to be in deep trouble. So you got to shut down the borders, so to speak, in this game if you're Texas A&M. Also, you can't allow the eye candy of Gus Malzahn to get you caught up in, say, the flea flicker pass for a touchdown that happened against Kent State. That can't happen to you. Also, you can't fall for the jet sweep, which, Anthony Schwartz is back. And if he gets around that corner, you're not going to catch him. Defense is going to be key for Texas A&M in this game, and the defensive line is going to have to extend their influence outside of the A and B gaps. Now, they're absolutely lights out in between the center and the two guards. Where things got a little tricky for Texas A&M was when Clemson started to attack the edge. That's going to be a key for Texas A&M. All right, so number two is, okay, we understand that, Clemson's starting running back won't be starting in this game, of course. He's injured. And what's going to really be key for Texas A&M is how do they respond to that? How do they respond to what you thought was going to be your starting running back now is not there? Who steps up in his place? One thing to note is that Texas A&M absolutely cannot be one-dimensional in this particular game, because for the most part, we just can't. You just can't trust Kellen Mond to put the game in his hands. And with only having a true freshman that's going to be your option at running back, I'm really not digging how that could possibly turn out. Okay, so who is it that's going to step up in the place of Jashawn Corbin? Jashawn Corbin, number 7, was supposed to be the heir to Travion Williams, who is no longer there. But, Jashawn Corbin is out with a hamstring injury for the rest of the year. And you got to have that run game. That means that a true freshman, Isaiah Spiller, out of Texas, a 4-star recruit, kind of middle tier, low end 4-star recruit, is going to have to add that element to the run game that is may be improbable, because he's not super fast. He's not, he doesn't have like that elite transfer over to Power 5 football type skill set. So I think this could be a major blow for the Texas A&M Aggies that a lot of media outlets are just not talking about. So how does the run game respond? If one thing about Auburn, they haven't allowed a running back to get over 100 yards all year. And I just don't see it happening with Isaiah Spiller, unless there's something on video footage that I just don't see. And last but not least, Texas A&M is definitely going to have to catch Auburn napping on one of those punt returns. I really think that if Texas A&M is going to have a chance to really stretch the field and get some field position that they probably shouldn't have, is they're definitely going to have to take advantage of Auburn's vulnerability in the punt return game, because even against Tulane, it was apparent that Auburn still is struggling with those punt returns. So I think those are the keys to success for Texas A&M. Let's look over to the Auburn side. Number one, and this is probably my favorite part to this whole success to win the game thing. Can Gus Malzahn prove why the fact that he's calling plays matters? Can he do it? All season long, even on my channel, the whole year, off season, we've talked about how significant it was going to be with Gus Malzahn calling plays again. Have we seen it yet? We've seen shades of it. We saw more of it in the Kent State game than we saw previously. But now Can he do it against a ranked Power 5 team? Does he have the personnel? Does he himself have the strategy to make it justifiable that the fans or media outlets or college football in general should buy into the fact that he's calling plays matters? That's number one. Number two, Bo Nix on the road for the first time in the SEC West. I'm not digging the whole hostile environment thing, but it nonetheless, 100,000 people that are against you versus maybe 10,000 for you. How do you respond? Can you connect on the big plays? Can you make the right decision in the run pass option? Can you protect the ball? Because Texas A&M has been very good at takeaways. That's going to be the key for Bo Nix. Is can he turn over the leaf that's starting to show the greatness of what he can bring to the table? And last but not least, with Texas A&M probably resorting to being one-dimensional because Corbin is not there, can Auburn secondary rise to the occasion and contain? I'm not going to call them elite wide receivers, but they're good enough. They're good enough to beat you. Can they sustain enough pressure on Kellen Mond, and can the secondary continue to show how they've upgraded since Wesley McGriff has been there? Can they do it? Because that's going to be one of the keys to this particular football game. All right, guys, I hope you guys enjoy the Texas A&M Auburn game tomorrow. This is one of my favorite SEC games to watch. And now I've thoroughly enjoyed covering the historical background, all the little ins and outs of this particular week. Is definitely going to continue. I appreciate the influx of subscribers to Vernon Speak Sports Auburn. Go ahead and like this video. Click the bell for the subscription. Comment. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.